In this short video, we'll explore how to work with the different windows that are represented within the Visual Studio.NET IDE. There are basically two types of windows. First of all, there are the fixed windows, and then there are the auto-hide windows. And you can take a fixed window and make it auto-hide, or you can take an auto-hide and make it fixed. A good example of the auto-hide windows are the Toolbox and Server Explorer to the left-hand side. As I put my cursor over the toolbox icon on the left-hand side, you'll notice how it juts out to the right, and it allows me to interact with it. I can select different items on there, and there's really nothing there at the moment, but you get the idea. A good example, however, of the fixed windows are to the right-hand side, the Solution Explorer and the Properties window down to the bottom. By default, these windows appear in these positions. The Solution Explorer is fixed. In other words, no matter how many times I move my mouse cursor, it's not going to move out to the left or the right. However, it's pretty easy to change the status of these windows. For example, if I wanted to take the toolbox and make it permanently jutted out to the right-hand side, I can select the Auto Hide pin and push the pin down. And by doing so, it's going to pretty much change how the real estate is allocated within Visual Studio.NET. And as you can see now, this becomes a permanent window, and it is accommodated by the main area moving over to that distance. And I can do everything with this window now. I can resize it, or whatever the case might be. What I've done now is I've moved the viewing focus down to the lower portion of Visual Studio.NET. You can see now that we've made the toolbox into a fixed window, near the bottom of the window you can see that there are little tabs, and these tabs represent the different windows that have an affinity for that space. So I can select the Server Explorer or the toolbox, and they are both fixed windows. So this is just to demonstrate the concept that if you change the status of one of the windows, it changes all of the windows that are allocated to that side of the Visual Studio.NET. Continuing on, I've now shifted the focus back up to the upper left-hand corner of Visual Studio.NET. What I want to show now is that I am going to select the Auto Hide pin and basically unpin it. So now it turns back into an auto-hide window. And again, the space is reallocated in the main area to accommodate that. Now, just a moment ago, we saw that there were two windows that had an affinity to the left-hand side of the screen. We're familiar with the toolbox, but there was also the Server Explorer. The Server Explorer is still there. It's kind of on a little pivot, I guess you'd say. You can select the toolbox, and merely by running your cursor up towards the next icon, you can see the Server Explorer. And there might be, a dozen windows that represent this left-hand side of the window. To select which window you want to see, you can also just right-click this gray area here and select the one that you want to look at. I can select the Server Explorer, I can right-click and select the toolbox. So again, if there's like a dozen windows that you have here on the left-hand side, you can get to one very quickly in that way. And finally, if you want to remove one of the windows, all you need to do is to get into focus. And this applies to auto-hide windows and the fixed windows. Get the window into focus and then select the Close button. And it is gone. You can notice that there's no more representation of it on the left-hand side. But suppose we want to get back to that window. How do we do it? We can merely go to the View window and select Server Explorer, and it's back. And notice when it comes back, though, it is in a non-auto-hide state. So we can merely select the Auto Hide button, and now it's back to its original form. So that concludes this lesson of working with Windows, lesson 1003, and we hope you enjoyed this video.